Okay, now we talked about the bad guys. Now we're going to talk about the good guys and the truth. We talked about the liars, which included Watson, Crick, and their DNA led us down the wrong road. Also, Adam Smith was also a bad guy because he laid the foundation for the capitalist system. And basically, his message, Adam Smith, bad guy, was the individuals glorified, and the individual will in his pursuits bring society along with him. Not so. Look what's happening in our society. The top 1% took the money and ran. So Adam Smith, bad guy. But everybody believed him. That's the way capitalism works. Adam Smith, 1776, bad guy. Now we're going to the good guys. Okay, right off the bat, we're going to start with the Greeks. We talk about Hippocrates. The first doctor, I'm a doctor, he said, first, in the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. And number 3 cause of death in the United States is prescription medication. Okay, also Hippocrates said food is medicine, the best food is the best medicine. So, I say it in all my lectures, diet is number 1. It's easy, it's cheap, do it, it'll change the basics of your life. And then we move on to the emotional and the mental. So again, Hippocrates. And now we move, also Hippocrates taught me prolotherapy, which is a therapy I use for taking care of chronic pain. Anyway, it's all in the videos in my website. But now that's it. Well, good Greek number 1, good Greek number 2 is Aristotle. Aristotle said that to treat the unequal equally is not democratic. That means he's saying the same thing Jesus said. We must help those that are disadvantaged, the unequal. We must not treat them as equals. We must help them. Aristotle. Aristotle also gave me the ingredients for what I consider one of the greatest concepts for healing that I've ever come up with. Aristotle said, when consciousness perceives itself, you're at the source of all being. And he is saying precisely the basic principle of quantum physics is that reality depends on our perception. And before we perceive anything, then all possibility is there. Anything can happen before we perceive. So that's why all the sages, all the good guys, understood this one basic principle. You don't collapse the wave, and we'll talk about that. You stay as an observer. That's what Krishna says. You stay as an observer. Okay? You observe. Basically, you're in the alpha state of being, which I will teach you and have in my other lectures how to get into. The alpha state of being, a state of awareness, acceptance, and non-reactivity. When you're in that state, it's the same state that Krishna talks about, another good guy. He talks about be aware of, Krishna says, be the independent observer. Okay, quantum physics 101. Then we move over to Buddha, and he says, you are what you think. Again, he's saying, your perception creates your reality. Same thing that Aristotle said. These are all good guys. Jesus says that be a passerby. Again, stay in the alpha state, awareness. He also, when he's talking to his followers, he says, my kingdom is not of this world. What he is saying is, I live in a kingdom where all possibility exists. And when you live in that state of mind, the alpha state, and I've thoroughly explained it in all my lectures, when you live in that state, then all possibilities exist. So they all said the same thing. Aristotle. Oh, Jesus. If you want to understand the true teachings of Jesus, and Jesus understood quantum physics par excellence. His whole message was quantum physics. Of course, it was left out of the Bible. In fact, in Jesus, and here's where you get all of his message. The Gospel according to Thomas, and it's brilliantly described on YouTube. And when you understand, I think it's 114 phrases. These are exact quotes. All the rest of the Bible was he said, she said 100 years later. Thomas, Didymus, the twin, he was smart enough to take the exact quotes down, what Jesus came from his mouth. And now you decide what he said. Not some guy with a pointed hat or a night robe. You decide. And when you decide, you will see that Christianity has been, the message has been changed. And so in the Gospel according to Thomas, and I don't like to get into religion or individual religions, because they all basically, I believe in the basics of all of them. But Jesus says in the Gospel according to Thomas, he describes God. He says, when he who comes from no father bow. No, when he who comes from no mother, when he who comes from no mother bow, for he is your father. What that's telling me is that God is energy. And that's the bottom line of quantum physics. The whole world is energy and consciousness. That's it. And it's all proven in my equation. Go to my equation, Dr. Garcia, Quantum Healing, and you will see the equation that proves what I just said. And it's the one, okay, here's another thing that Einstein, Newton, all the rest of them left out. They couldn't deal with gravity, but they never even knew about consciousness, the ultimate force in the universe. Duh. It's funny. Okay, so now we've talked about the bad guys, the good guys. The good guys are Aristotle, Hippocrates, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna. Because they were all witnesses to the truth, which is quantum physics. And the difference between them and the rest of everybody else, because they understood quantum physics. And that is miraculous. That blows my mind. That people, like Buddha, he understood the principles of quantum physics. And he didn't have the Buddha to study, Jesus to study, the internet, Google. He didn't have any of that. He understood it. Well, I understand it, but Jesus, I have so much help. But that's okay. I've got it. I'm going to use it for health and healing. Because remember, when you're in the alpha state of being, you're at the source of all being. When you're at the alpha state. So when you're in the alpha state, you can basically create everything. So what my research is right now is learning to focus energy on healing. Healing, number one, because I'm a doctor. And number two is reality creation. And I really feel that I'm in the greatest adventure in human history, because I am using the quantum mind, which is a quantum computer, no doubt about it. In fact, there are elements of every cell, including the brain, that have what they call microtubules, which Hammerhoff, anesthesiologist, Arizona, has shown to have quantum abilities, microtubules. There, he calls them light pipes. So everybody, the world community believes that, and they're mainly true, that everything runs on electromagnetic energy. But electromagnetic energy is one major source, but I believe another source that is commingled with electromagnetic energy, and there are different types of energy, is quantum energy, which is light energy. Because, and when they become commingled, then they're synergistic. And again, you have the 0 point field, and then you have the quantum field. And then you have the Higgs field, and all these fields, I do believe, are components of consciousness. And because of our quantum mind, we have access to it all. It's just that we need to learn how to use it, and that's what I'm spending all my time doing, learning how to use the quantum mind, how to navigate the quantum field. Thank you, and there will be more. In fact, my book should be out hopefully by the beginning of the year. Thank you, and stay tuned.